And we are live on YouTube. We are live on TikTok. Another draft stream happening here. Gonna update my best ball rankings quick, and then we will get after it on this live. Gonna do multiple drafts like we've been doing on these live streams. Let me clear this and get some new rankings up in here. And then we're gonna get going. We are live for at least the next hour, if not two. I think last time we went 2, so we're definitely starting to push it. Let me re-upload this, and we should be good. This. All right. Get after it. It's going to be a fun one. Yarjma, how we doing? We are here. Good afternoon to everyone who's already in the live. You guys are on it, man. I'm pumped. This is the best time of the year. It truly doesn't get better than this. And I'm running out of time, guys, to max enter these drafts. This is always an extremely busy time of year. I need to get on a location. What's going on? Why is this struggling with location? Let's see. I might have to join from my phone and then hop in. Let's see. Let's check this out. Give me a second here. Yeah, we're in. Let's go. We are in, and we have pick 10. Why is the draft board like so zoomed out here? Let's just go with this view. Here we go. All right. We're cooking now. We got pick 10. We're doing a live draft here, and this is the first of many on this live stream. We couldn't be more dialed in than we are right now in this moment, heading into the biggest draft weekends of the year. I've done just way too much time into preparing for the draft season this year, and I feel as ready as I've ever felt for drafts. I'm not going to be overconfident, though. You know, you want to stay humble in draft season because we're going to be wrong about a lot. Every single year we're wrong about a lot. You just need to be more right than the people you're drafting against. That's why this game is so fun, man. The link to the YouTube live is in the TikTok bio. You can get to the YouTube from the TikTok bio. If you're watching live on TikTok, you could also just search Walter Picks on YouTube. Shout out to everybody in this live stream right now. We are just getting started. We are here. I would not do this. If you have the first pick, this is my least favorite part about drafting Jamar Chase this year, about drafting T. Higgins this year, and about drafting Chase Brown this year is then I don't want to draft the other two in season-long drafts. In best ball, I'm a little bit more comfortable with it if I'm going to try to stack with Joe Burrow. But yeah, in a season-long league with your friends, you only want one of these guys. Otherwise, your entire team can just be tanked with one Joe Burrow and injury. Like it's not super beneficial, I don't think, to stack all three of these guys together, especially all three of them. I think all three is like a lot worse than just two as well. It's obviously going to be a really good offense, but yeah, I would not do this with all three guys. Gibbs a top 4 pick. Definitely a fair argument. There's definitely a fair argument that he is. All right, we're on the clock here at pick 10. Puka Nacua has been sliding, man. Sliding a lot. We're going to go with HN here. Going to try to get one of these two running backs on the way back. Start with an RB start. If Puka slides, I have been starting to take him in round 2 when he falls that far. I still think Stafford's going to play and be fine. Brian Thomas goes at the end of the first round. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, guys, we were live on YouTube doing a live draft. Can you show us the live draft? Yeah, I can show you guys the live draft. Or you can just come to YouTube and get a better viewing experience of it yourself. And we do go Henry. HN Henry, I've gotten this start a few times now. Feel pretty good about this start. You can really get aggressive now with receivers in these next rounds. The running back drop-off, guys, it's steep. It's a steep running back drop-off. I think there's a pretty steep drop at receiver too, but in best ball, I do think you can make up the receiver points. You can definitely make up the running back points too. I've been doing some zero running back builds as well. Oh, it blocks my camera. Thanks. Appreciate that, Yarshma. Let's flip this around, huh? Now I'm blocking the draft board just a little bit. Let's go in the middle of the draft board. How's that? Yeah, like this. Can move this over even a little bit more too. RJ Harvey or JK for week 1. Yeah, it's RJ Harvey, man. RJ Harvey has such a high ceiling, even in week 1. I'm firmly, let's do a quick RJ Harvey versus JK Dobbins comparison on the YouTube live. Guys, if you are just joining the YouTube live, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. This is the first of many real drafts, not a mock draft here, a real draft, $25 on the line, $2 million first place prize, $1.5 million first place prize in this tournament I'm drafting in right now. We started with an Achane Henry start, which I do like, especially in home leagues. I've done it not a ton in best ball this year, but yeah, RJ Harvey, we have projected just so far ahead of Dobbins right out of the gates. And I fully agree with this. I don't hate Dobbins either at his cost. I like both these guys a lot at their current cost. I mean, the costs are not comparable. RJ Harvey's going as running back 21 on underdog, running back 34 on ESPN, especially. I'm gonna have RJ Harvey in every single ESPN draft. If people draft by the ESPN rankings, which I really, really hope they do, he's going 21 picks later on ESPN than underdog. This is part of the reason the Walter Picks app is an absolute cheat code. There's nowhere else to easily find information like what we're looking at on the YouTube live right now. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, you got to come to the YouTube. I'll get to this comment next. I do have definitely some thoughts on Omarion Hampton, who just goes here in the 3rd round of this draft that we're doing live on YouTube. I'm about to be back on the clock. We will have to go receiver. We will take JSN, assuming he's there, though I do often get sniped on these lives. Not sniped there, though. So we start with JSN. We're trying to catch up now at receiver since I started running back. Don't be shocked if I rip 6 straight receivers here, partially because of the best ball format. I don't necessarily recommend what I'm doing on this live in best ball to do in your home leagues. I will talk about the strategy there. It's different. It's different strategy, different formats. You got to optimize your strategy for the format that you're drafting in. This is one of the most difficult things every year as a fantasy football content creator, to try to give people good advice when I don't know the exact specifics about your league. If you start 3 receivers instead of 2, wide receiver is a lot more valuable. If it's a PPR league versus a half PPR league, that's a big difference as well. There's a lot of little things like that. And again, part of the reason the Walter Picks app is so powerful is it syncs and understands all of that for all of the insights you get throughout the whole season, including, during the draft, pick by pick. Okay, we are going to be back on the clock here in a second. I think the question that I just pulled up was Worthy versus Hampton. We just took Jackson Smith and Jigba. We had pick 10, and we're on the clock. There goes Worthy. Oh, man, I think we're going Pickens. I've been just chasing Pickens up draft boards. I'm not scared at all. There's a few guys that I'm just not scared to reach on this season, and George Pickens is definitely one of them. Feel very, very good about the ceiling for George Pickens. I think George Pickens, we could look back and he's a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy. Like, I think that is in his range of outcomes this year. I think he is like a slightly cheaper version of T. Higgins. He's not even that cheap, much cheaper than T. Higgins now. At least in these drafts. In home drafts, though, he's going to go so much later. He's going to go so much later. Is George Pickens like round 5, 6, 7? You're going to see him go in your draft probably, and I'm going to love him at that cost. It's part of the reason I really like starting with running backs this season as well. All right, I think it was Hampton and Worthy was the question on the YouTube live. So let me pull this up. We can do a quick comparison. Let me know in the comments who you want me to compare next. And guys, if you are watching live on TikTok, it's a better viewing experience on YouTube. I'm just being real, because I can share screen to the live draft that I'm in right now. You can see the whole thing. And I can share screen to player comparisons too. And I can pull comments up on screen too. I can't do any of that on TikTok. I still appreciate everyone watching on the TikTok live, but I just want to be real where the better viewing experience is. Okay, we're going to do Hampton versus Worthy. Off the cuff, I think I lean Hampton over worthy. That's what happened in this draft I'm doing now. I do think the ceiling for Hampton, top 10 running back. I don't think that's quite in the cards for Xavier Worthy at receiver. He's probably going to be, Worthy's probably going to be a very, very good player to have, though, with the Rashee Rice suspension. That's probably going to come soon. Would really appreciate that, NFL, if we could get that Rashee Rice suspension confirmed. It's been sort of assumed for quite some time now. And I still think it's going to happen. It could be 4 to 6 games. I kind of think it's going to end up being like 4 or 5 and not 6, like a lot of people think. Yeah, it's Hampton. It's Hampton over Worthy. And there's more receivers later in drafts than there is running backs. I think that's still true this season, especially in the middle rounds. Like to me, the middle round tight ends and the late round tight ends, not really that big of a difference. Even some of the middle round running backs versus the later round running backs, I don't think there's that big of a difference. Like a lot of those guys really are going to need an injury to absolutely smash. But the middle round receivers versus the late round receivers, it's night and day, man. Completely different. You'll see it in this draft I'm doing right now. There's an absolute cliff. Once you get past round 8, 9, if you're lucky, 10, you're looking at guys that, like in season-long drafts, there's just no way you're going to trust or feel good about in your starting lineup. And again, and then in the later rounds, though, like there's actual tight ends with upside. There's actual running backs that are, there's a story you could tell or an injury that could happen where suddenly they're top 12 at their position. And I just don't think that's the case at receiver. So that I do think that has shaped a lot of my draft strategy this year. Let's pull up this comment here from Brady. I went 0 running back, and my starting running backs are RJ Harvey, Trevion Henderson. What are your thoughts? Yeah, this is an absolute cheat code in fantasy this year. If you're going to be able to go 0 running back and build these teams, Henderson went in round 5 here. I'm not scared to take Henderson in round 4 personally. I would take. I much prefer. Wow, James Cook went just 5 picks before Trevion Henderson here. 1 pick after Alvin Kamara. This is like the tier of running back, though, that I think we should expect Henderson to be. And I like Henderson more at his cost, where he's usually going. All right, we're back on the clock here. I am going to go Waddle. I think we have Waddle, the top-ranked player here. And we caught up at receiver pretty fast. I already have Achane, though. Can I really go Waddle? I don't really love the Tua stack. I think we're going to go Harvey instead, just because I have Achane. We snuck in Harvey while that was close, right at the last second. I probably will take Waddle if he's there with my next pick. He probably won't be. But I don't love the Achane Waddle stack. I'm not really trying to build a Tua stack here. I'm much more interested in getting Dak for the Cowboy stack. And in best ball, like I'm always trying to stack. It is, I think, pretty required to take down a big tournament. I'm competing against hundreds of thousands of other teams. I can explain the rules of this. If people are curious and don't know, let me know in the comments. And I'm happy to talk through best ball specific strategy and what this draft even is. But this is a $25 entry fee. This is a real draft. This is not a mock draft. And I have taken so much Rome Odunze, but I think we got to go with him. Yeah, we're going Odunze. I do think Odunze bounces back this season. All right, so we've started this draft. Derrick Henry, Devon Achane, George Pickens, RJ Harvey, and Rome Odunze. I am honestly a little bit surprised by this gap that's forming between Trevion Henderson and RJ Harvey. And this commenter on YouTube was just saying they did 0 running back strategy in their draft, and their starting running backs are Henderson and Harvey. Like, this is the type of team that you can build where you're just unbeatable. Like, if there's an outcome here for that team, if you start receiver, especially if you start 3 receivers, if you start 3 receivers and a flex in your league, that's the exact type of format, especially if it's PPR. A PPR league where you start 3 wide receivers and a flex, so you can start 4 of them in a PPR league. Those are the types of leagues where going 0 running back is super, super strong, because you can get, one of the elite guys in round 1. You're getting Drake London, AJ Brown, Brian Thomas, Lad McConkey in round 2. You're getting a JSN, Marvin Harrison Jr. or T. Higgins in round 3, and then George Pickens in round 4. Like, you start with those type of receivers in your first 4 picks, and then you still get Henderson and Harvey, who both could be top 12 running backs in PPR points per game at the end of the season, easily. Like, if you're not with me that it's possible over the course of the season they finish there, in the back half of the season, absolutely no doubt that that's in the range of outcomes for them. Both of them are very, very good receiving backs. Henderson is an elite receiving back already. Henderson is already one of the best pass blocking running backs in the NFL. He's one of the best pass blocking running backs we've seen as a prospect in years. but he's also a really good receiving back, which I find like very interesting that he's so good at both. Because I really want him to be running out there as a receiver, not sitting back there blocking for fantasy purposes. I am pretty annoyed that the Patriots are having their most explosive player on their team, though, return kicks in the preseason. Can we please stop doing that? Like, I don't want to see him return another kick the whole season. Never mind the preseason. He's literally our most explosive offensive player on the team. Zero running back is the way to go. Well, look, I don't think you need to go zero running back, to be clear. I do really like the strategy, especially if you can land Harvey Henderson specifically in the middle rounds. I don't hate Caleb Johnson too. Tony Pollard, who just went, I think has some ceiling. Swift should have some floor. James Conner's not awful. David Montgomery's going, honestly, a little later than I would have expected too this draft season. But I still think the starting running back early is still a really strong strategy too, especially in season-long drafts, especially in leagues where you aren't starting 3 receivers in a flex. If it's 2 receivers in a flex, I think going running back early is still strong because there's still some middle round receivers I really like. I think we go downs here and we keep trying to catch up a receiver, especially since we sort of snuck in a luxury pick there with RJ Harvey when we had already started running back. So we'll go downs. That opens up some backdoor stacks with Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson here too, which I do like. Which path wide receivers are you targeting? Yeah, so in my drafts, there's really only one that I'm targeting. And it's Mr. Stephon Diggs, who just went in this draft. Yeah, but if you guys are watching live on YouTube, which you should be because it's the best viewing experience. I will answer comments from both lives, by the way, but YouTube does have the best viewing experience. Because I'm sharing screen to a live draft on YouTube, or we're going to be on the clock. So we're going to make this pick first. Not an easy choice. I think we go Jaden Higgins. I'm going Shakir. I have not taken much of him. He has been falling a bit in drafts, so I should be mixing him in. I feel like Jaden Higgins' ceiling's a bit higher, but I think I've drafted Higgins a lot more than Shakir. I've done more than 300 of these best ball drafts. So I do need to spread out my exposure as much as I possibly can. The Patriots receivers. So yeah, if I just look up the Patriots here in the Walter Picks app, there's really only there's 3 guys that I'm like actually targeting in fantasy drafts, aside from being a Pats fan. And I do think I've earned some validity as a fantasy analyst who's also a Pats fan over the last few years, because I've been extremely pessimistic about the Pats for multiple years now, really ever since Tom Brady's last season. Even during when that last season started, I was pretty convinced it was going to be his last season. I was very pessimistic. The team sucked, put no talent around him. Really ever since then, we've basically had no offensive talent on the team at all. And this is the first season there's some actual offensive talent, some actual explosive players on the Patriots. And the most explosive player on the team is TreVeyon Henderson, who we just saw return his first preseason touch, his first NFL career touch, a kickoff to the house. And again, please, Patriots, please stop playing him on kickoffs in the preseason. The only time I want to see TreVeyon Henderson returning kickoffs is in the NFL playoffs. But yeah, I'm very aggressively targeting him in fantasy drafts. I'm not scared to take Henderson in round 4. I'm really not. And in my home league drafts, my high stakes leagues, I'm in 5 different high stakes fantasy drafts. I've only had 1 of them so far, so I still have 4 to go. Running backs go so early in these drafts that Henderson, I'm fine taking him in round 4. Totally fine. I think that's the type of PPR ceiling he has, and I think that his receiving ability is going to give him a pretty solid floor too. And I think the thing that's being underrated with Henderson and Diggs and May a little bit too, those are the other 2 guys I feel good about at their costs. The Patriots offensive line got a lot better this offseason. It was a bottom 3 offensive line in the NFL last year. I don't think it was the worst. There were some really bad ones out there, but it was bottom 5 at least. At best, it was bottom 5. At worst, it was bottom 3. I mean, it was atrocious. And then on top of that, there wasn't a single explosive offensive player that could catch or run the ball. So yeah, I like Stephon Diggs. I think he's pretty much locked in for a 25% plus target share. I would be pretty surprised if he fell below that with the other receivers on the team. And then I think Demario Douglas's role is like pretty locked in, but I'm really not interested in him in fantasy. Demario Douglas is not going to win fantasy leagues. Like none of the other receivers on this team, none of the other players on this team realistically have any chance of winning fantasy leagues. I would be shocked if a non-Henderson, Diggs, May player won a fantasy league this year. And that's my mentality with every single pick. can this guy in the right scenario, can he actually win me my league? Like Douglas maybe will get like a Wan'Dale Robinson type role where he gives you some cheap PPR points, but that's not what I'm looking for. All right, Kyler, Purdy. There's no, there's Dak. Yeah, we got to take Dak here. We got to get the pick and stack. We're going to do that. Get our first QB. We're only going to take 2 QBs in this draft since we went with Dak. I don't hate going Kyler if he slides. If he continues to slide here, he's pretty far past his ADP. Tua stack is definitely in play with Achane. Bo Nix has already been taken. Caleb Williams is sitting here too. I could get Caleb Williams. I have like way too many Caleb Williams stacks, though. I feel like I got to cool it with my Caleb Williams stacks. I don't hate going Drake May either. I think I probably will go May over Williams because he is easy to stack here down the stretch of these drafts. Just as I'm saying, there's not a single explosive player left that can win leagues. Best ball is definitely a little bit different, and there's the rushing potential for May too. Like May is that last Patriot that I am interested in targeting. He's going in round 10 of this draft. He's going to go after round 10 in your draft. He's going to go after round 10, which is why it just doesn't make sense to reach on quarterbacks. Brandon Ayuk is still sitting there too. He's sliding down draft boards so far that I am somewhat compelled to take him too. I think it's like possible he slides to my next pick though. Yeah, we're going May. We're going to do it. Go QB. We won't take another QB in this draft now. And we know who we're trying to stack with Drake May. And there are in best ball, all I need in best ball, this is again not like a normal season-long draft. There's no starting and sitting decisions in this draft. All you do is the draft in best ball. And then your best lineups automatically submitted for you at the end of each week. I'm competing against 12 other people or 11 other people in this draft. There's a 12-person half PPR draft. You start 2 running backs, 3 receivers, and a flex, 1 tight end, 1 QB, and it's 18 rounds. The optimal build here, optimal roster construction is big in this format. It's like 2 QBs, 6 running backs, 8 receivers, 2 tight ends. It's like generally what you can make some pivots off that depending on where you put the early draft capital. Like if I waited longer than this on QBs, like I might take 3, for example. But now since I got 2, I think pretty solid ones, I'm only going to take 2. But all I need is Kayshon Boutte to have 1 30-point game in week 15, and he will be worth a pick in this draft. That's basically how this format works because I need to come in top 2 in this league, and then I will advance to the playoffs. And in the playoffs, I'm in a pod against, I think it's, let me actually pull it up. I don't think it shows on this. And this is just the payouts. Oh, yeah, it does. I'm in a league against 12 other people. I have to come in first out of 13 in week 15. I have to come in first with this team I'm drafting right now to advance to week 16. And then in week 16, I have to come in first out of 16. And these are other teams that advance this far. These are stacked teams that you're up against. This is why you need to stack your quarterbacks with receivers to give you some type of chance to beat so many stacked teams. But yeah, I just need 1 Kayshon Boutte 30-point game, 1 Hunter Henry 25-point game. And, in those scenarios, Drake May also had a big game. And that's where you advance to the finals for a chance to win $2 million. That's the mentality with these best ball drafts. So it's a little bit different. I wouldn't be drafting like that, in a home league. Shedeur 101. No, Brown's not Walter pick. Shedeur is not 101. Shedeur is still 4th on the depth chart and fighting to make his own NFL team. The fact that I see Shedeur Sanders get drafted in some fantasy drafts is wild. Absolutely wild. Drake London is undervalued. He's going to be a late first round, early second in 14-team leagues. Yeah, I agree. That, wait, are you saying he's not undervalued? Oh yeah, no, I still think he is, especially in casual home leagues. Drake London's going to be undervalued. Let me pull up the London ADPs. It depends what platform you're drafting on too, and who you're drafting with, for sure. But if we compare him to, let's say, who else is going around him? Yeah, let's do Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't hate Marvin Harrison Jr. this year either. If we just look at the ADPs over on YouTube again, if you're watching live on TikTok, guys, come to the YouTube live. I'm telling you, the link is in the TikTok bio. Yeah, he's going wide receiver 10, pick 18 on Sleeper. He's actually in the same, more similar range across platforms than he was a couple weeks ago. Yeah, so maybe undervalued is a little bit of a stretch. He's an early round 2 pick. He's an early round 2 pick, but I think he's a great pick there. Like I really think he's the end of a wide receiver tier. And I would take him over AJ Brown. All right, we're going to be on the clock here again. And the Patriots do play the Bills week 15. You do want to try to get some game stacks going. We only have 3 running backs. I think we go Kincaid. Or we can go Ferguson. Oh, we missed it. We're going to go Ferguson with this next pick if we can get it. 20-second timer is fast. Did Baseball Tootin already get picked? He did. Wow, I have not seen many drafts where he goes before Tank Bigsby. Wait, did he get picked? Maybe not. Maybe I just missed him. He did. Yeah, here he is. He got picked this round. Absolutely love Baseball Tootin where he's getting drafted right now. There's an ambiguous backfield. I know ETN got all the first team snaps in the first preseason game. I still think Tootin's going to get a crack at the starting job at some point this season, and his ceiling is so high if he does. Yeah, we're going to go Ferguson, get the Dak Prescott double stack with Pickens and Ferg, and we're probably good at tight end now too. Depending where Hunter Henry goes, I might consider him. He's pretty much the only other tight end I should consider, though, this whole draft now. And we're already done at quarterback. Feel pretty good about how this draft has started. I had the 10th overall pick. Went HN, Henry, JSN, Pickens, Harvey, Odunze, Downs, Shakir, Dak, Drake May, Kincaid, Ferguson. Yeah, all 3 of these rookies, Jaden Blue, Dylan Sampson, Bashaw Tootin, all pretty interesting with how late they're going in drafts. How do you feel about Pickens at wide receiver 2 in a 14-man league? Feel great about it. Yeah, in the live draft I'm doing right now over on YouTube, that comment came from TikTok. I took George Pickens in round 4 as my wide receiver 2. I went Achan, Henry, JSN, Pickens. And this is a 12-person league, and he's my wide receiver 2. Like, I'm pretty high on Pickens, man. You look at Pickens' efficiency numbers and his per route efficiency numbers. Let me pull this up because we have this in the Walter Picks app now. Let me show you guys some of this stuff with George Pickens. And you got to keep in context the quarterbacks that George Pickens has played with. Let me list off the quarterbacks that George Pickens has caught passes from. The leading passer for the Steelers the last 3 seasons, last year was Russell Wilson, Kenny Pickett. And there's some even worse names in there over the last couple of seasons because those guys did not start every game. I mean, just disgusting quarterback play that Pickens has played with. He hasn't even really had like a super high target volume. He had a high target share, but the Steelers were so run heavy last year. And still 2.5 yards per route run in 2024, 2.4 yards per route run in 2023. I mean, elite per route numbers here with horrible quarterback play. And now he's going to Dak Prescott, who was an MVP candidate 2 years ago. I think the other thing that's getting underrated here is like I think that it's almost impossible for the fantasy drafters overall to like really wrap their head around how big of a QB upgrade this is. He's going from bottom 5, bottom 10 quarterback play his whole career to a QB who literally 2 seasons ago had the 7th most passing yards per game. He was QB 5 in fantasy points per game, QB 5 in passing touchdown rate. The Cowboys the last 3 seasons, no teams has thrown the ball inside the 5 more than the Cowboys. And then you look at their running back depth chart, and how are they not near the top of the league in pass volume this season? How are they not again near the top of the league in pass attempts inside the 5? I just don't see how it's possible that Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, and Jaden Blue, are this like elite rushing attack. Oh man, Demario Douglas is just sitting here at the top ADP. I think I kind of have to take him. Think we're going to do it. I do think, like I said earlier in the live, I do think Douglas is locked into a role. I do have Drake May, and I did want to stack him with at least a couple receivers, and Douglas kind of just fell to me there. So we're going to take that. Where's Hunter Henry on this list? He's 3rd. Oh, man, I could consider a 3rd tight end. I did go early running back too. I could sneak away with 4 running backs on this team. I definitely am considering it. Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to go a 3rd tight end. Since Kincaid and Ferguson, they're really not elite options. And I don't love the stacks as much after Henry with Drake May. I'll consider Booty a bit later. Mac Daddy Hollins. I want to mix in some Mac Daddy Hollins stacks with Drake May. I also you got to paint a story here with how this best ball format works, and there's no story I would enjoy better than winning a $2 million first place prize because of a Drake May Mac Daddy Hollins connection in week 17. Man, that is the dream. That is the dream. Okay, we got Jerome Ford off the board. I think he's a really good zero running back pick too. Jerome Ford. The thing with zero running back this year too, that it feels kind of unique to this season than in comparison to past draft seasons. There's like starting running backs or at least high floor PPR running backs available in round 14, in round 13. Like Jerome Ford's going to be close to 10 PPR points per game in the role that he's going to be in, assuming that Quinshon Judkins does not play this season. Both Dylan Sampson and Ford are pretty clear values at their picks. I know the Browns are a very sketchy offense. There's probably going to be 3 or 4 different quarterbacks that play for them this season. But there's going to be volume on this team, guys. We see legit fantasy producers on bad teams all the time. Like at some point, it's getting more than factored into their cost. This is a game about cost. And if you can start your draft with an elite quarterback, one of the 3 elite tight ends, one of the 4 elite quarterbacks, one of the 3 elite tight ends, 3 or 4 elite stud receivers, and then you can still snag like Tony Pollard, and then later in the draft, you can get a guy with upside like Bashal Tutin, who's either an injury or 2 or just winning the role away from absolutely smashing and having an insane ceiling in PPR leagues. Bashal Tutin was a very good receiving back in college, and he is the most explosive running back that the Jaguars have. He's more explosive than Tank Bigsby, who's pretty explosive in himself, and Travis Etienne's not explosive at all, who's currently the lead back. But I think he's more directly competing with Etienne. I think Bigsby is like the most unique running back that team has. And then Etienne and Bashal Tutin a little bit more similar, but Tutin's just like a faster, more exciting version of Etienne, a little bit more volatile option than Etienne, I think I would say too. He did have fumbling issues in college, which is the part of the volatility. Hey, Sam, who are some targets for first 3 rounds for 8th pick in a 14-man half PPR league? Yeah, James, in a 14-man league, a couple of my high-stakes leagues are 14-people leagues. I'm looking at the running backs like a little bit more intensely in 14-team leagues because they can dry up so fast in these 14-team leagues. I know, at least in my drafts, I know that they're going to draft. Like I know if I looked back at the draft boards of the last 3-5 years and all of the 14-team leagues I'm in, by round 3, you're looking at the running backs and you're like, wow, this is going to be my 3rd round pick. And the receivers that are going to be there in that range are still going to be solid. Like you might get George Pickens still in round 4, round 5. You might be looking at Calvin Ridley, Devontae Smith, Chris Olave, Juwan Jennings, Stephon Diggs, Rome Odunze, all these guys that have like a pretty clear path to some real volume in production. The running backs, though, that you might be looking at, like that might be like the Tyrone Tracy's, Brian Robinsons. Like they get pushed up, I feel like, in these bigger drafts. So yeah, I'd be looking at Javon Achane, Derrick Henry, Ashton Genty, Chase Brown, Christian McCaffrey. If he slides at 8, he probably will in a lot of drafts slide to 8. I'm taking him at 7. I'm taking McCaffrey at 7 this year. Why is Cedric Tillman falling so far? Is there some injury report I missed? This was 18 days ago. He was back at practice. Absolutely love where I just got him. Cedric Tillman is like, to me, one of the last receivers that I have at least some excitement to draft. Just like at least some. I'm not saying there's a ton with the quarterback situation, but if we just pull up Tillman's game logs, this is best ball, guys. I just need a couple spike weeks. At this point of the draft, round 15 here, I'm just looking for a couple spike weeks, like 25+ point games, 20+ point games. We saw 4 real games. We saw 4 real games of snap share from Tillman last year. There was only 4 games where he played more than half the snaps. And he had 3 spike weeks in those 4 games, and he's going in round 15. Someone explain that to me. I think we might go Keaton Mitchell as the 4th running back. A little hedge against Henry, has some standalone value too. I like it. I've been taking, I also in best ball, I do like with how late they're still going, because Keaton Mitchell looked good in that first preseason game. He looked like the old Keaton Mitchell from his rookie season. And the rookie season Keaton Mitchell, dare I say it out loud, he looked pretty similar to Devon Achane. That's what he looked like his rookie season. Let me take us down a trip down memory lane here quick, just to remind ourselves of Keaton Mitchell's rookie season. Because he didn't really play until week 9. Week 9, he played 18% of the snaps. He ran 3 routes. He played 14 total snaps. He had 1 catch for -4 yards. He had 138 rushing yards on 9 carries. 9 carries, 138 rushing yards, TD. Like, this is a guy that's capable of spike weeks with just a couple of touches. Again, perfect for best ball. And then if Henry misses time, suddenly he's got games where he gets 12 to 15 touches, and he's having running back 1 weeks. And I don't need to predict in this format too when they're going to come. Like, I don't think I'll take Keaton Mitchell at all in season-long drafts. In season-long drafts, I want the guys that are an injury away from just being locked in fantasy starters. And I don't think Keaton Mitchell's necessarily in that category, but he definitely is in the category of spike week potential without injuries. And definitely going to be seeing some spike weeks if there are injuries to Derrick Henry or Justice Hill. Thoughts on the first 3 rounds, 106, 14 man. Yeah, so the 106 and the 107, 2 of my favorite picks this year. 2 of my favorite picks. Because in my opinion, the way that drafts should go, and you can debate, I think this is like, it feels like one of the first years in many years. And I know the first picks haven't actually worked out great. And you always look back and you're like, how are we so confident in how the first round should go? And I'm sure it'll be no different this year. But this does feel like one of the first years in many years where, like, there's a really good debate, I think, to have about how the first 6 picks should go. In my opinion, the first 3 picks of every draft, and we can debate the order, but the first 3 picks in every draft, this is the order I would go in, is Bijan, Chase, Saquon. I think you could argue any order there, and that'd be totally reasonable. I'm taking Bijan at 1. Personally, I think he's the safest pick in fantasy football. But I feel amazing getting Bijan, Chase, or Saquon, which makes me really like the 3rd pick if I think they're all in the same tier. And then it's a similar thing with the next 3 players. And you could make an argument, some people are making the argument, for some of these next 3 guys to be considered earlier than those first 3 guys. I wouldn't do that. I would not consider these next 3 guys before Bijan, Chase, and Saquon, personally. But then it's CeeDee Lamb, Jahmyr Gibbs, Justin Jefferson. And again, I think you could argue the order of those 3 all day if you wanted to. I think that's the order I would go in, though. Lamb, Gibbs, Jefferson. And I love getting Jefferson to pick 6, man. Absolutely love it. I think J.J. McCarthy will be an improvement over Sam Darnold. I'm a little bit scared about the Vikings' pass volume and if it's going to be quite the same. I think they might skew a little slower, a little more run-heavy with J.J. McCarthy, with Jordan Mason in the backfield now too. But I don't think it's going to matter for Justin Jefferson, who has the most receiving yards per game in NFL history. The most, ever. Like, he is in the cards to be the best receiver of all time. Like, that's what he is contending for if he continues his season how he started, continues his career how he started. All right, we're going to be back on the clock here. We got to lock in because these are the picks that could really make or break this team. We're going to go receiver. Let's just lock in Booty here. Looks like Booty already got taken. We're going to go actually with Malik Washington. I have been trying to get more exposure to him. I think he was targeted on the first 4 preseason plays, but just the fact that he was out there with Tua, the fact that I have no confidence in Tyreek Hill right now. If Tyreek Hill ends up missing time or gets traded, Malik Washington's going to be a legit fantasy option. I think he's going to be the next guy up. All right, we're going to be back on the clock. I think we go Mac Daddy Hollins. We were talking about him. And we go 9 receivers. Since we did wait on receiver, I think we got to go 9 on this team. How is Efton Chisholm above Mac Hollins? It makes absolutely no sense. Oh, Keyshawn Booty was there. I was just scrolled down. I don't know. We were just painting the dream of Mac Daddy Hollins. I feel like we got to go Mac Hollins in this one. I definitely have some Booty in May stacks. I don't think I have a ton of Mac Hollins. So we're going to do it. Signed him for a reason. All right. That is draft 1. We're going to rip another one, though. And I think I might need to join it on my phone again. For some reason, I'm having a location error on my phone. TikTok Live. I'll be right back. Hopping in another live draft over on YouTube. Go to the YouTube Live. Better viewing experience. Let's hop back in. And I will get back to some of the comments as well. Always nice when I have picks at the turn so that I can get to more comments on these lives. Actually, like, really, really appreciate everyone who's in this live right now. Seriously, the fact that I get to call what I'm doing right now a part of my job is a true dream come true. And I appreciate every single person in this live who's helping make that possible. I would really appreciate you hitting the like button, the subscribe button. It helps me out way more than you realize. The best possible way you can support me, though, in the whole Walter Picks brand is checking out the Walter Picks app, downloading it. The link is in the YouTube description, and doing one of the subscriptions. They are like wildly underpriced, in my opinion, for the value you get. If you're in like serious leagues, like real serious competitive, high money, or like big last place punishment leagues, the app is going to pay for itself very easily, because it's going to customize all of your fantasy insights the entire season to your league settings. There's not going to be a better place for getting projections for your league and for getting all the stats, information, updates, and data that you need to dominate all fantasy season. But then if you bet on player props too, I mean, the app is probably underpriced by hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. We've had 5 consecutive profitable NFL seasons if you just use the recommended picks in the Walter Picks app. But the app also helps you research any other picks you want to play and gives you a sense of what we're projecting versus those prop picks. The player prop markets continue to be the most exploitable markets in sports betting. Unfortunately for me, I'm in Florida and I got limited using the Walter Picks app insights. So I can barely even bet anymore. My max bet's $10 on Hard Rock, and that's the only book in Florida. Does the Premium Pro give weekly lineup advice? You know it. Yep. Yeah. So the draft year, only draft season, basically, it is valuable for. That's what you unlock. You unlock the draft tool, the draft rankings, the mock draft premium features. But the pro subscription is the fantasy subscription for the entire fantasy season. That includes the trade analyzer with detailed insights about how every single trade impacts not just trade value, but your starting lineup projections, because that's what matters. Trade value is this arbitrary thing about how much a guy is maybe worth in future trades. That doesn't mean that much. What matters is your starting lineup going to get better, especially in the fantasy playoffs? Like, is your lineup going to get better to make the playoffs? And then all that matters is the fantasy playoffs. And our trade analyzer gives you detailed breakdown of how many points does it add to your playoff projection? How many points does it add to the other weeks to get into the playoffs? So it's that, and there's also weekly lineup recommendations based on projected points, based on boom potential, based on lowest bust potential, all the matchup insights you could possibly need every single data point you could possibly want. And look at this. I just said that we love pick 6, and we get pick 6 in the next draft. If you're watching live on TikTok, again, we are also live on YouTube. Link is in the TikTok bio, but oh my God, I thought I took Saquon. Man, I started celebrating too soon. Wow. I do not know how we didn't get Saquon there. I'm gonna have to watch the recording back. I swear I clicked Saquon. Maybe I think I am subconsciously drafting. We're at the point of draft season. I'm subconsciously drafting Christian McCaffrey. I definitely meant to draft Saquon there, but we're fine. We're gonna be fine drafting Christian McCaffrey. More than fine. 100% more than fine. I'm not gonna tilt about a Christian McCaffrey pick. You won't see me do that. No, I do want to watch that back later because that was crazy. But yeah, I love pick 6. Like, you just saw, Saquon just fell to pick 6 here in this draft. Should I draft back-to-back running backs with the 10 pick? I just went back-to-back. I literally just had the 10 pick in the last draft I did on this live stream, and I went back-to-back. I went Achane Henry. So yeah, I think it's a strong move. I like the receivers going in that range too. I really don't think there's too many bad picks in the first 15 picks. Like, the guys that I'm most skittish on, that I don't think I'll really get a lot in the first 15 picks, are Puka Nacua and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Puka Nacua with the Matthew Stafford back stuff. And I'm a little bit concerned about what's Puka's touchdown potential. We've never seen him have over a 7% touchdown rate. 7% is not that high. Like, the top touchdown scores, they're over 10% every season. And Devontae Adams is one of these elite touchdown scorers. So he's not the best touchdown scorer, the best red zone threat, best inside the 5 threat on his own team. And then Matthew Stafford's also got the back of an 80-year-old man. So that has me like a little bit scared. But, I'd still take Puka in round 2. Like, right around here is where I'd probably take him if I was playing it safe. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, I don't think there's much higher of a ceiling than we saw last year. And I think there's a higher ceiling for the guys going around him. All right, we're back on the clock. Lad's been sliding a lot. I think I'm going to go Bucky or Chase. We're going to start running back again. I think we are. I've been trying to mix in more Chase Brown. But I'm going to go Bucky. I think my exposure to him is lower, which is really the only reason I'm taking him here. Wow, I thought he was about to take a different player for me again. What's going on? Is it the location thing? Is that what's going on here? It's like mad at me about my location. Refresh here. Very weird stuff going on. I think, what error did you just throw at me? Love the app. After back-to-back running backs, who do you target in round 3 and 4? Yeah, so this is the right live stream to tune into. I know the best ball stuff, it's different than home leagues, and I talked a little bit about how the strategy should change. But it's really these are the drafts that really, for me, like what is helpful from these drafts is just the positional rankings, where you see players go in comparison to other players of the same position in these best ball drafts, because this is a real money draft. This is a $25 draft. Like, people aren't messing around in these drafts. These are not mock drafts where someone's taking someone ridiculous in round 2 that's never going to happen. Like, these are realistic position within the positions. And so you're going to see the guys that are going in round 3 and round 4 in positionally. And yeah, round 4, round 5, there's a ton of receivers that I like a lot. We just pull up the Walter Picks app rankings here quick. If T. Higgins is there in round 3, which he is in this draft, like if he's there in round 3 and underdog, you can assume the receivers in this draft I'm doing live on YouTube right now, the receivers are going to go earlier in this draft than probably your draft. Just generally across the board, the whole position. People chase receivers because in this league, it is half PPR, but you start 3 receivers and a flex, and there is just like a massively steep drop off at receiver after like round 9, round 10. To the point where I'm getting excited to draft Cedric Tillman in the back part of these drafts. You know, that's probably not a great sign for me. And for the receiver position. All right, we're going to be on the clock, and then I'll talk through some of the receiver stuff. Wow, T. Higgins, let me draft him. Finally, all right, we finally made a successful pick. We got T. Higgins in the middle of round 3. Let me show you guys why I'm so high on T. Higgins in round 3. I think that he is closer. I think he should go in round 2. And he's not going to go in round 2 in most drafts, but I think he should. He's a lot closer to Ja'Marr Chase than he gets credit for. Ja'Marr Chase, for a lot of people, is the consensus. I don't know if he's consensus really at this point. I feel like a lot of people, I have Bijan at 1. I've seen Saquon, some people with Saquon at 1. He's the consensus wide receiver 1, Ja'Marr Chase, at least on underdog. Almost every draft, he's going at 1 here. But Ja'Marr Chase is a locked-in top 3 pick in every single fantasy draft. Let's say that. I think that's a fair statement. 90% of you watching right now, Ja'Marr Chase is going to be picked in the first 3 picks of your draft. And then, but you compare him to T. Higgins and what they did last season. Let's look at their fantasy stats last season. This is free, by the way. This is a free functionality in the Walter Picks app. There's no excuse to not be prepared for your drafts anymore, because so much of the preparation can be done for free in the Walter Picks app. And if you do the premium subscriptions, like, you're just going to be set up to absolutely smash. But you compare these guys. Guys, T. Higgins was wide receiver 3 in points per game last year, 19.3. Obviously, Ja'Marr Chase was better. He was number 1 at 23.6 points per game. Ja'Marr Chase had more yards per game, just a little bit ahead in touchdowns, though. Guys, Ja'Marr Chase was number 1 in touchdowns per game last year. T. Higgins was number 2. I mean, wild stuff. He played less snaps than Ja'Marr Chase, and he played less games than Ja'Marr Chase. But then you look at the gap in their cost, and the gap is 30 picks. In this draft I'm doing now, 29 pick difference between T. Higgins and Ja'Marr Chase. Like, I feel great about that value for T. Higgins. He has basically the same weekly ceiling as Ja'Marr Chase, just a slightly worse floor. And when we look at some of the receiving stats, it gets even like more compelling. Their target shares were not that different. 28% target share versus 27. So yeah, I'm very high on T. Higgins. When you do this comparison, I don't know how you aren't high on T. Higgins. Wow, Trevian Henderson's already off the board. This is crazy. Oh man, I think I'm gonna go Brees. I shouldn't have gone Brees there. I already had 2 running backs. Sorry, I was going on my T. Higgins rant. This is what happens to me on the lives. Brees Hall starting to slide back a little bit in these underdog drafts. Definitely a noteworthy amount after the first preseason game. And I don't want to overreact to preseason. I never want to overreact to preseason. And I think we are, every year, the preseason is becoming a little bit more and more overreacted to. Everyone's so pumped up for the NFL season, draft season's here. And so we're overanalyzing the preseason games. The only thing I care about in the preseason games is who's playing with the starters, which is usually like 15 snaps or less, and injuries. End of list. Only thing I care about. I don't care how you play. I don't care if you play bad. I don't care if you play good. I don't care if you return a kickoff or a touchdown like Trevian Henderson. Does not change my fantasy rankings literally at all. I already knew who Trevian Henderson was. And I literally thought he was already picked in this draft, and there he is. I literally would take him over Brees, I think. I would have taken him over Brees in that last pick if I had realized he was there. I'm not sure how I missed him. I'm like missing all sorts of things in this draft right now, but he might fall to me here at this next pick. He's probably going to get sniped, but we do kind of need to go receiver. I'm really pushing it if I go running back here. I am going to take him, though, if he falls. If not, I'm going to go with Devontae Smith. And there goes a Dunze. Wow, that's an early Dunze pick. Okay, so we're not taking running back the rest of the draft now. We're going to stick with these 4. But yeah, so Brees Hall, I'm a little bit scared about him because he split first team snaps in the preseason with both the other running backs. Like it might be a true running back by committee approach. I still think that the Jets are a pretty good candidate to lead the NFL in rushing attempts, though. I got someone mocking me in the YouTube live. Sorry, I said I was going to talk about the receivers. I will talk about that. Then I'll get to the person mocking me in the YouTube live about Caleb Williams, who I'm happy to talk about. Yeah, there's a lot of good receivers to choose from. You're seeing them right now, so this is probably a good time to talk about it. But yeah, just to list some guys off that I feel great about, rounds 3 through 5. And in some of your drafts, they're going to be available in round 6, some of these guys. T. Higgins, Jackson Smith and Jigba. George Pickens, wow, went before Jason in this draft, but I feel great about George Pickens, especially in round 4. I don't mind Marvin Harrison Jr. or Garrett Wilson. They're very different, but I feel okay taking both of them where they're going to. I found myself, though, in most of my drafts going running back where they're going. So a little bit later than that, I like Tet McMillan a lot. He's locked in to lead the Panthers in target share. Basically no chance he doesn't lead the team in targets if he stays healthy. And he's going to be a touchdown scorer too. He's a big guy that's capable of playing every single wide receiver spot. He can play inside. He can play outside. He's also underrated after the catch. Like Tet McMillan can create yards after the catch. He did it in college. Jameson Williams, DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley. I'm happy to take Travis Hunter. I'm not scared to take Travis Hunter. Roma Dunze. I haven't been taking much Sutton and Metcalf. Devontae Smith and Waddle, I feel like are going like weirdly late. Both, I think, are good values. Man, all these running backs sliding. And, oh, man, Joe Burrow sitting here. I think we got to go Burrow to get the T. Higgins stack. We already are pushing receiver. We can only take 2 QBs and 2 tight ends probably in this draft because we're going to really need to pile up at receiver. I don't think I've pushed receiver this far in any of my best ball drafts so far. So at least this will be a unique team. But we got the Joe Burrow T. Higgins stack at least. I'm doing a live draft over on YouTube if you're watching live on TikTok, by the way. If you are watching live on YouTube, guys, shout out to you. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. We are posting multiple times a day on TikTok and going to be live a ton in the next several months on TikTok as well. But the YouTube live, it's a better viewing experience. I got nothing against TikTok, but I can share my screen on YouTube and I can't do that on TikTok. And I'm in a live draft on YouTube right now with the 6th pick. I took McCaffrey at 6. I meant to take Saquon, but we went McCaffrey. We're not going to sweat it. Bucky Irving, T. Higgins, Brees Hall, Trevion Henderson, Joe Burrow. I need to start taking some receivers, man. All right, we talked about some of the receivers in the middle rounds, though, that I like. Most of them have already been taken. So I'm going to be in a tough spot here. You'll see how I approach it down the stretch of this draft. Let's get to this question. Best app in fantasy. Appreciate that. Yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out the Walter Picks app yet, you got to check it out. It is a free app. There's a ton of free features in the app. And the premium features are so powerful as well. If you're going to do one of the premium subscriptions, it's $45 for the draft kit, the draft tools, which are going to help you absolutely crush every single one of your drafts, custom to every single situation, every single pick. Literally, it updates pick by pick, syncing to your league. The Walter Picks app, and that's a $45 draft kit. It probably should be at least 3 times that cost. If you wanted the whole fantasy season, that's $65, only $20 more. And you get all the trade analyzer, all the start sit advice, all the weekly advice all season. Transaction advice, everything you could possibly need, every decision you could possibly need to make. The Walter Picks app will be there to help. And then there's player prop. There's a player prop embedding tier as well. All right, I think we go Addison. We're going to draft so many receivers here. I know he's suspended, but when he comes back, this is the way that this team could compete, especially in the playoffs. I'm not worried about taking Addison at all in these best ball drafts. He's got suspended 3 games, right? There's only 3 games. I could confirm. Pretty sure it was 3 or 4 games. All right, let's get to this comment. Dynasty startup, PPR rank Puka, London, Amon Ra. Yeah, the Puka comments about retiring early, definitely, that's a little scary. I'd probably go London. How old is Amon Ra? feel like Amon-Ra and Puka probably 25.8. He's probably younger than Puka. Didn't Puka said he wants to retire in like a few years? Wow, he's a year older. Yeah, it's close, man. Those two are close. I think London should be first, though. I'm really high on London. I think he's like right up in the tier with those guys in redraft this year. So in Dynasty, I think he's the pretty clear favorite there. Yeah, he's the youngest of the group too. He also has the best long-term QB situation right now. I mean, obviously this stuff can change a lot in the future years, but who's Amon-Ra's quarterback in 2-3 years? Who's Puka's quarterback in 2 to 3 years? We know who London's is going to be. So yeah, I think London's one for sure. And then I think it's super close between Amon-Ra and Puka. Honestly, like a little bit too close to say, either way, super confidently. I'd probably lean towards Amon-Ra though over Puka. I don't really want to draft guys in Dynasty that have openly said they want to retire soon. I think we're going to be forced into Shakir if he doesn't get picked here. Yeah, we'll take Shakir. Hopeful expected back for week 1. So we have two guys that literally might not be playing week 1 in our wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3 slot right now. But don't worry, we're going to take a ton of receivers. And when I'm doing these drafts, I'm only thinking about the playoffs. I'm assuming this team makes the playoffs because that's where you really got to beat some good teams, and it's where all the money is. But mixing in an actual healthy player might be smart. A non-suspended healthy player might be smart. All right, let's go to confirm that Addison. Yeah, 3 games. But this team is going to be able to make it 3 weeks. And by the time Addison comes back, the team's going to get hit. This team's going to get hit with injuries already. It'll be perfect timing. A 3-week suspension is not as big for fantasy as people think. Because the fantasy playoffs is like 80% of what matters. And Jordan Addison's not suspended during those games. I can't take Mooney. I can't take Mooney in this team right now with how I've started this. I got to go Pittman or Keon. I do like Shaheed. Oh, man. Ayuk, too, is going to be a tough guy to draft here. I already have McCaffrey, too. I could get J.J. McCarthy later as my second quarterback right now. Purdy is definitely in the mix. He already got taken? He got taken around 7? What's going on in this draft? We got to examine this draft board in a second. All right, we're back on the clock. And I think we go Keon Coleman. I do kind of like Rashid Shaheed more. But we got Shakir and Coleman now. Starting to just gobble up the target share for the Bills. They do play Trevion Henderson in the fantasy playoffs, so I do like that. Let's go to the draft board view here, and then we'll get back to the comments in the live. All right, so we went Addison, then Shakir, then Coleman. And you're starting to see what I mean about the wide receiver drop-off, hopefully, at this point. Like, even Shakir and Coleman, like, it's a night and day difference than these receivers going in this range. Meanwhile, the running backs, are they that much different? Outside of, like, really Trevion Henderson and RJ Harvey? Breece Hall, maybe? Oh, man, Drake May is going to be in the cards, too, since we do have Henderson and the Bills going. I should queue him up as well. What are the other receivers that we got to queue up? I don't hate mixing some Luther Burden into this team. Man, we're just gonna try to get a bunch of bodies at receiver with how we built this team. We gotta take a couple tight ends too. Consider all these guys with these next picks. Unselect running back here. Thoughts on Breece and Kenneth Walker? Yeah, I mentioned Breece a little bit earlier, but the preseason usage was just like tiny bit concerning since he mixed in with the first team as did the other 2 running backs. I really don't think I can go Ayuk on this team that I'm building. Addison's at 3 games. Shakir might not play week 1. And we already missed the Brock Purdy stack. Let me pull up this draft board here. Where did Brock Purdy went so early? Round 7 here. They went for the pure solid Purdy stack. He was at the turn. He had Kittle. That's fine. It's reasonable. It's not that unreasonable. This guy knows what he's doing. He went hero running back here with elite tight end. Pretty strong. This is a pretty strong draft. A pretty strong start here. This is probably more similar to how most of my best ball drafts go, where I start pretty receiver heavy and maybe take one elite running back, one elite tight end, depending where the tight ends fall. I do like Devontae Adams too, where he's going. Like Adams and Puka, you can be a little bit scared about the Stafford stuff, but at the same time, Jimmy Garoppolo is not a terrible backup quarterback option. Like I feel like there's at least some floor there because of the backup QB option for the Rams. I'm thinking about taking Achane 9th. Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. I just took him 10th in a draft I'm doing live on YouTube just before this one I'm in now. If Ayuk's still there, I'm going to take him. I think I kind of have to. He is still there. So is JJ McCarthy. This guy has 3 QBs already. He goes Javante. I'm going to go Ayuk. This guy has 3 QBs. Like this team is probably toast. Like if you just step back and think about it for a second, he does have, like, you spent an early round pick on Lamar, right? You spent a round 3 pick on Lamar. Lamar's going to be, if this team succeeds, Lamar's going to be starting a quarterback for this team every single week. So he's just burning picks on Dak and Caleb Williams. He got the stacks with Dak and CeeDee Lamb, with Caleb Williams, Moore, Dunze, and Loveland, and Swift too. That's honestly a little probably too much stacking going on there, which I sometimes do too much as well. But yeah, I mean, maybe he just burned the Lamar pick in reality. But yeah, he's way behind at receiver now. He's kind of just like wasting slots on his team. Kyle Williams has done nothing all camp, bro. Yeah, I do think Kyle Williams will go undrafted in most fantasy leagues. You got to factor in the cost in fantasy. In all fantasy analysis, well, what's the cost to get him? You know, like, sure, you want Breece Hall more than Trevion Henderson? Well, what if it takes, you got to pick him a round or 2 before? No, then give me Trevion Henderson all day, like at the cost. Kyle Williams off the waiver wire down the stretch of the season, I absolutely could see it. There he goes. He just got picked in round 12 in the draft that I'm doing right now, right behind Keenan Allen. All right, we do need a quarterback. Jordan Love is interesting here. I think we're going to go with Love. He's the highest ADP guy. I don't have a ton of him either. We went Bateman and Ayuk, the last 2 picks. And then we went Jordan Love, or hopefully get Romeo Doubs. That would be nice. So we're done at quarterback and running back now. And we haven't taken a tight end, so we might have to take 3. At this point, I have to take 3. Which is fine. I'm pretty comfortable going 3 dusty tight ends in best ball of the season. With how steep the wide receiver drop-off is, I'd rather hammer some actual upside at receiver and just take 3 dusty tight ends that all could fall in the end zone and be a top 10 tight end any given week with how the tight end position works in fantasy, than reach for these mid tight ends in the middle rounds and then end up with zeros at receiver. Guys that literally might not even play. Like Kyle Williams might not really play for the first half of the season. I still think a talent profile wise, I'm pretty bullish on Kyle Williams long-term for the Pats. I think Luther Burden too does have like a pretty legit ceiling. Like he was a very compelling prospect. Round 2 draft capital. I think he was more like a round 1 receiver than a round 2 receiver in the NFL draft. I mean, nice. We get the Dobbs stack. He's injured too. I'm just drafting the all injured squad here. I don't even know if I'm going to have 3 healthy receivers week 1 on this team. Maybe overdoing it with the playoff focus. So how many rounds left now? We have 5 picks left. 3 of them have to be tight end. 2 of them are going to be receiver. So we're going to end with 9 receivers, 3 tight ends, 4 running backs, 2 QBs. Since we went very early running back, I'm not wasting any other picks on running back. Got to hope 3 of these 4 guys stay healthy over the course of the season, and this team's going to have a chance. Christian McCaffrey, Bucky Irving, Breece Hall, Trevian Henderson. Who should I take? JSN with the 6th pick in an 8-man? It's a first-year dynasty. The 6th pick in an 8-man? Do you mean 6th round? The 6th pick? I don't think JSN is the 6th pick, no. I think I could pretty easily name 6 guys I'd rather have in dynasty. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, Brian Thomas. I mean, I could keep going. Hopefully you mean the 6th round. In 6th round, if it's your 6th pick, that I like. That I like for JSN. I do like him in dynasty, but yeah, not the 6th pick. Yeah, so I had this comment pulled up about Harvey's ceiling. Sorry it took me so long to get there. We actually had this pulled up before. Harvey versus Dobbins, someone was asking about. Not comparable. The ceilings are not comparable. This is a legit league winning ceiling, like a legit league winning ceiling. I actually think like his ceiling could be in the top 10. Sean Payton has always targeted his running backs near the top of the league. He's been top 5 in that category for 3 straight seasons. RJ Harvey is a good pass catching player. Like he's going to catch passes in this offense. He's the most explosive running back on this ascending offense. J.K. Dobbins has been, kind of good everywhere he's been. It would be very on brand to take Likely on this team. I think we go Leggett though first, and we only need 1 more receiver now. I do not hate how this team is shaping up. Definitely a different team, a very different build than I have done in most of my drafts, which I like. I need to mix in some different stuff with how many drafts. I'm doing 150 of these drafts. I'm max entering this tournament. And I think I'm at like 115 now. It's going to be tough, honestly, for me to get there with how little time's left. But we're going to try to do it. I have 3 of these guys in the squad, so we're looking good this year. Yeah, I'd love to hear that. Yeah, so I think Caleb Williams, someone was talking smack in the TikTok live that I have Caleb Williams as an undervalued player. And it's funny because I feel like in the general NFL circle, not fantasy, but just general NFL, everyone's talking about the Bears. Everyone's talking about Caleb Williams. There's a lot of attention and interest and expectation really surrounding Caleb Williams and the Bears. But in fantasy, it doesn't feel like it's factoring in the dramatic change that's coming for the Bears as much as fantasy drafters should. Caleb Williams right now, let's compare him to Jared Goff. Caleb Williams right now on Sleeper, Jared Goff is going 6 quarterbacks ahead of Caleb Williams. Make that make sense. The Sleeper ADPs have been really bad the more I've looked at this. I mean, Caleb Williams clearly should go ahead of Jared Goff. It's not even close, in my opinion. I know Jared Goff was better last season, but we're not drafting last season. We're drafting this season. In this season, Caleb Williams is going from a coaching staff that literally did not watch film with him to a new head coach who, as an offensive coordinator, has ranked top 3 in points per game for 3 straight seasons with the Lions. And it's obviously not all him. It's not all Ben Johnson. There was a lot of talent there too. He wasn't the only coach there too. But he led his offense as the offensive coordinator to top 3 scoring seasons 3 years in a row. So he's going from one of the worst coaching staffs in the league as a rookie to one of the best offensive minds of the last 3 years. So there's that dramatic change. And that alone is massive. But then on top of that, a lot of people give Caleb Williams a lot of hate for holding on to the ball too long, trying to play hero ball. And I think some of that's fair. But the Bears' offensive line was also bottom 10 in the NFL last season. There's metrics for this stuff. This isn't just a quarterback stat. If you look at protection rate, which is the percentage dropbacks in which quarterback was hurried and forced to throw the ball in less than 3 seconds. So the percentage of time that the quarterback was forced to throw the ball in under 3 seconds because they were hurried. So there was a defender in the vicinity hurrying up the play. Really not a quarterback stat. If you're getting hurried within the first 3 seconds, that's an offensive line stat. The Bears ranked 27th in that stat last year. Bottom 5 offensive line, bottom 6 offensive line. They made several offensive line upgrades this offseason. Then they go and they draft an elite tight end prospect in Colson Love, a wide receiver prospect that I think should have gone in round 1 in Luther Burden. Roma Dunze really disappointed last year too. I still think he's a very good prospect. And they have DJ Moore. And they also don't have a very exciting running back depth chart. I'm not a Kyle Manung guy, personally. I'm not a Manung guy. We're just calling them Manung guys. I'm not going to buy into round 7 players in fantasy for the most part. Most of those guys, over 80% of them, are zeros in fantasy football. I've been taking some Roschon Johnson in best ball, but it's hard to get too excited about him too. And then DeAndre Swift, he's a pass catching back. So all of the signals point to this massive improvement to the passing game for the Bears and more passing volume potentially for the Bears too. I think we go Sanders here. A different tight end we really want? Not really. We're going to need 3, so we might as well take a second. I know already able to get. We went likely Sanders. Likely was very on brand for this team since it's the all-injured team. The all-currently injured team. All these guys are just falling, though, in ADP. Likely still has a pretty good chance to be ready for week 1. He's not going to miss more than a few weeks if he misses time. He's also he's one of the few tight ends with just massive contingent upside. If Andrews misses time, likely could be a top 5 tight end. Perfect for best ball. Perfect for this big tournament. Perfect for a 3 tight end build too. Probably going to go with one of these guys. Don't really like either of the Bengals tight ends. Big money, 3rd pick, 10-man, CD or Gibbs, full PPR. In a 10-man league, I feel like I'm a little bit more likely to go CD Lamb there than Gibbs, but it's close. I don't think there's a bad choice there. I would definitely consider Saquon and Bijan and Chase, though, too. Would you consider drafting a tight end in the early rounds in a 3 wide receiver league, or should I focus on receivers? Yeah, this is a good question. This year, I actually, every year when I get started preparing for fantasy drafts, which was months ago at this point, you're seeing my 400th draft, and that's not overstating it. I always start as I prepare for fantasy, start preparing for my fantasy drafts. I always start with tight end strategy. For some reason, I feel like it's just such a nice place to start. And then you can work off of that for the rest of your drafting strategies. Because it's just kind of always one of the more straightforward positions, because you're almost in every league. There's some super flex leagues. There's very rarely leagues where you're playing 2 tight ends. So in almost every league, you're starting 1 tight end. And so you kind of know the batch of 15 guys and where they're going and how to build around that. So I will share my tight end, how I'm thinking about tight end here in a second. I did just say I was trying to mix in more Malik Washington. And I'm interested in that. I think we go tight end, though. We grab Theo Johnson first. Yeah, we're going to go Theo Johnson here. I'll take a receiver with this last pick. Honestly, I could go 4 tight ends. I probably need to go receiver, though, with all the injured receivers I have. We're not going 4 tight ends. We'll look at Malik Washington. I think the other guy that's going weirdly late, that is the clear wide receiver 2 on his team. Jalen Naylor's interesting. Not him, though. Did he just get taken? No, he didn't. The guy that's a clear wide receiver 2 on his team and is not getting drafted in any of these best ball drafts, that's Mr. Josh Reynolds. Probably going to be on the lowest pass volume team in the NFL. So I get it a little bit, but I think he's the clear wide receiver 2 for the Jets. So I have been mixing him a little bit in round 18 of these best ball drafts too. Had 1 spike week last season. It was injured, I think, most of the season. Early front runner to be the wide receiver 2. He's competing against Alan Lazard and Tyler Johnson, and then a bunch of nobodies. So yeah, so let's get to the tight end strategy before we wrap up this draft. Before we wrap up this live stream, you just saw me go 3 late tight ends. I'm totally comfortable doing that in these best ball drafts. I'm pretty comfortable doing something similar to this too in my home league high stakes drafts too. Generally, this is how I'm approaching tight end this year. There's an elite 3, and I'm comfortable taking all 3 of these elite guys where they're going in drafts. It's tough for me to pass up on London and everyone behind him that went in this draft. If you're watching live on YouTube, London, Achane, Henry, Genty. Like I would consider, I think Bowers in a PPR league, I would consider Bowers over Henry. I would consider him over Genty, but I probably wouldn't do it. But like where he went in this draft, I would do this. With how the board looked here, I would do this. I would take Bowers in the 5th pick of the 2nd round. Bowers is coming off the best rookie tight end season of all time, and he's getting a QB upgrade. There's a little bit of uncertainty with how the Raiders will look because there was a coaching change. We got Chip Kelly returning after many, many years ago. He was in the NFL. But if we see what we usually see with tight ends, and nothing is usual about Brock Bowers, because again, he had the best rookie tight end season of all time. But usually in year 2, we see a step forward by most tight ends. So if we see a step forward from Bowers off the best rookie tight end season of all time, he's contending for the best tight end season of all time. Like it's within his range of outcomes. And if he does that, he's winning fantasy leagues. So I'm fine taking Bowers in the middle of the 2nd round. I'm fine taking Trey McBride at the end of the 2nd round. And when he falls to round 3, there's very, very few players I want to take more than Trey McBride in round 3. Because when you compare Bowers and McBride, they're really close, like really close. So the fact that, and usually like similar to how I approach tight ends, when you compare where McBride goes to Bowers in your draft, like that's the value you're extracting. If they're that similar, but here he's going 10, 12, 15 picks after Bowers in your draft, like that's a pretty good value pick with McBride. And if you can really do well in the back part of your drafts, if you're using the Walter Picks app, you will do very well after the middle rounds of your draft, which is really where you can win leagues. Like you can build some dominant teams with Brock Bowers and Trey McBride this season. So I'm fine taking Bowers middle round 2, fine taking McBride end of round 2, beginning middle of round 3. My first high stakes draft that I did, I got McBride at this pick in the middle of I think I had pick 6 or 7, and I got McBride with my 3rd round pick. Felt amazing about that. You look at McBride's volume last season, and it does not get prettier than this, man. 1st in targets per game, 1st in target share, 2nd in air yards, 1st in air yard share, 4th in targets per route run, and he didn't score touchdowns. A 1% touchdown rate. He was tight end 4 in yards per route run, tight end 3 in fantasy points per game. Tight end 3, though, you say, when him and Bowers are close. Well, who's the 3rd guy? Well, the 3rd guy was George Kittle, who was actually tight end 1 in fantasy points per game last year. I'm also fine taking Kittle where he's going. And I actually think he went a little earlier than ADP in this draft, but like generally this part, like very end of the 3rd, beginning middle part of the 4th, very happy to take Kittle there too. One of these 3 guys is going to be the tight end 1 this season. Like there's a very high likelihood, especially if they stay healthy, it's going to be Bowers, McBride, or Kittle. And the difference between Kittle and McBride and Bowers is Kittle has done amazing for fantasy without the same volume that McBride and Bowers have. He has consistently been an elite touchdown scorer. That's something we have never seen from Brock Bowers or Trey McBride. We've never seen either of them be an elite touchdown scorer. I still think it's possible, and probably I might even say likely with how much volume they see. Like I think McBride could have a 10 touchdown season. I think Bowers could have a 10 touchdown season. But you are kind of extrapolating and guessing a little bit there. Where with Kittle, like most years of his career, he's been near the top of the league in touchdown rate at tight end. Last year he was top 10. He was tight end 1 in fantasy points per game, despite a way lower target share. The year before that, 9.2%, top 10 in touchdown rate. The year before that, top 3 in touchdown rate. The year before that, top 14 in touchdown rate. Like he hasn't been under a 9% touchdown rate in 4 straight years. And we've never seen Bowers or McBride over a 9% touchdown rate. So like he's just a better touchdown scorer, a more reliable touchdown scorer. So I'm okay taking Kittle. After Kittle, no thanks. I'm not even really going to be thinking about tight end for the most part. Like until my entire starting lineup and probably at least the first 2 or 3 bench players are taken on my team. Like I'm either going with these elite 3 where they're going in drafts. I'm really not going to reach for them. I'm going to let them fall to me in the beginning, middle of the 2nd for Bowers, end of the 3rd, end of the 2nd, middle of the 3rd for McBride, end of the 3rd, middle of the 4th for Kittle. Otherwise, and I'm talking 12 team leagues here too, PPR. In half PPR, it's different. half PPR Kittle gets bumped up a lot. Non-PPR Kittle might be number one because touchdowns matter so much. And McBride, I'm not interested in McBride in a half PPR or non-PPR format. But yeah, then I'm going to punt. I'm not going to take Sam Laporta. Not going to reach for TJ Hawkinson. Not going to reach for Mark Andrews. Not going to reach for Travis Kelce. I'm not going to reach for anybody. I'm not going to reach for Evan Ingram. In round 10, like round 9, 10 range, that's where I'll pick my head up, start looking at tight ends again. I'll think about Tucker Kraft. I think there's a ceiling there. Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, happy to take stabs at those guys. And I'm going to take two of them. I'm going to take two tight ends in like rounds 10 through 13. Everyone through Brenton Strange, basically. Like I'm willing to take and start at tight end. David Njoku, Kraft. Like I don't think Tucker Kraft and David Njoku, dare I say even Kyle Pitts, who I really haven't drafted much of, but Darnell Mooney looks like he might miss the first month of the season. Kyle Pitts is the second receiver on the team right now. Crazy. I'm not going to put him in this list for now, though. Njoku, Tucker Kraft, Dallas Goedert, Jake Ferguson, Zach Ertz, Brenton Strange, and Isaiah Likely, Tyler Warren, and Colston Loveland. Are they that much different than Evan Ingram and Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce and TJ Hawkinson? On a weekly basis, is their floor and ceiling that much different? TJ Hawkinson had 2 games over 15 points last year. 2. Sam Laporta was not good last year either, and he just lost Ben Johnson on a team that's due for a ton of touchdown regression. Sam Laporta was tight end 9 in points per game last year, despite being top 5 in touchdowns. So yeah, I think the like every other tight end, there's a lot of flaws, a lot of risk. So I'm just going to wait. So yeah, it's the elite 3 or punt for me. I think that's the right way to approach tight end, in my opinion, this season. And sure, some of these guys that I'm fading, some of them will hit, a bunch of them are going to bust. And I have a very low risk approach when you go late round tight end, because you didn't invest a lot of draft capital in them in your draft. You could just drop them and find a tight end on the waiver wire. Like especially leagues with waiver wires that are going to have some bodies on there that you could potentially pick up. Because like in most leagues too, Theo Johnson, Chigakonkwo, Jatavian Sanders, Kate Otten, like these are guys that are probably going to be on waivers in most leagues. And like one of these guys is going to end up being relevant in fantasy. All right, that's my time, guys. Good tight end strategy rant there. But that's how I'm approaching tight ends this season. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the YouTube and TikTok lives. If you're watching live on YouTube, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're going to be live again this time next week. I'm off this Friday. Then the Friday lives will come back next week too. We're going to be up in the live stream hours for sure. Do appreciate everyone tuning in. As always, best way you could possibly support me, the entire Walter Picks brand, is checking out the Walter Picks app. I promise you it's going to help. Why is Pacheco still low in the rest of season rankings? So I'm posting my do not draft video tomorrow. He's on there. So on TikTok, my do not draft video will be posted tomorrow. 15 players that I am not drafting in fantasy football hitting the TikTok streets tomorrow. Absolutely crushed it with this video and analysis last year. I've done this do not draft list now for 4 straight years, and pretty much all 4 years, it's helped us avoid a ton of busts in fantasy. But yeah, I think Pacheco is a pretty fragile pick. And you just look at the guys going around Pacheco too. Caleb Johnson, I would take over Pacheco all day. I think the ceiling's way higher there. Jordan Addison with a 3-game suspension, when he comes back, could be a top 24 receiver. Jacoby Myers. I feel like in home league drafts too, like there's going to be even better receivers taken around Pacheco. Like if you take Pacheco over Waddle, over Devontae Smith, over Matthew Golden, Olave, Debo, Juwan Jennings, I think that's a little crazy. I just don't think that they have comparable ceilings. I think the floor is just so low. It really is the floor too. Like the ceiling is kind of high. You could argue for Pacheco on the Chiefs. We've seen a high ceiling from him in the past, but the floor I do think is really low. He did look really bad down the stretch last year, but I have more analysis in the video dropping tomorrow. That's my time, guys. Time is the most valuable thing we have. Thanks for spending some time with me today. I'll be back live super soon. Have a great night, everybody.